Hello. So for my presentation, I decided to talk about simulations and how they can be used in education. Let's begin by answering what a simulation is. So a simulation can be defined as the act of imitating the behavior of some situation or some process by means of something suitably analogous, especially for the purpose of study or personnel training. Or another not so technical definition is that simulations allow the learner to confront a reduced form of a real life situation and offer experiences that may or may not be possible in what is known as the real world. Simulations involve the use of a computer, though not always, and though they are synonymous with games, there is a difference between both. Well, depending on who you ask. According to Horton's book, a simulation involves learners in a work-related context and lets them safely verify that they can perform a specific task or procedure, whereas a game involves pairing a simulation with a personally challenging task. Another keynote is that the term user is associated with a simulation, and the word player is associated with those who play games. Makes sense, right? User, using, learning something. Player, obviously playing a game of sort. Now, there are different types of simulations, and they are used for different reasons. For example, most of us are familiar with computer simulations, like the one you are seeing here depicting a hurricane pattern. You also have a different type of simulation. Here you see an astronaut practicing in outer space. This type of simulation helps astronauts become accustomed to and familiar to the conditions of the atmosphere in outer space. This is referred to a human-in-the-loop simulation. What about this familiar example? Think of theme park rides, Mickey Mouse fans. Look familiar? Anyone ride the Star Wars ride at Disneyland? Simulations can also be in the form of videos. They can be used to inform patients about a medical procedure. For example, here is a short video showing a simulation video of a LASIK procedure. If you're not familiar with this medical procedure, it is used to correct some vision problems using a laser. These types of videos are used for patients to view before having the procedure done, showing what it entails, though some patients may not want to have this procedure after seeing the simulation. Now, let's say you're going to have an exam, but you have test anxiety. In order to help lessen your anxiety, you decide to recreate the atmosphere of your classroom at home. You find a quiet room, set a timer for the length of time you have to complete it, and have a prepared example, ready to go with the type of questions you think will be asked on the real test. Once you're set up and ready to begin, you set the timer and begin taking your exam. Maybe some of you have done this at home. I have done it at times to practice study. This is also a type of simulation. One of the advantages of simulating an experience is that you can make mistakes and see what the possible consequences are before applying your skills and knowledge to real-life situations, which makes using simulations ideal in an educational setting. So how could we use simulations in education, and why should we use them when we're teaching? In an educational setting, simulation connects classroom learning with real-life experiences. Simulations help students gain a more in-depth understanding of how something works. For example, they can also help students think about subject matter on a deeper level, leading them to asking higher-level thinking questions to gain a better understanding of the subject matter. Think about a science class. In a science class, students use simulations to mimic a laboratory setting. Students are able to go through the steps of mixing chemicals for the purpose of seeing how they will react or how they will not react. The purpose of this type of simulation is a way for students to practice working in a safe lab environment without the risk of blowing up or forming a dangerous concoction by maybe mixing chemicals that shouldn't be, and which can form a new and deadly concoction, something that could be costly in a real lab. It also allows learners the advantage of setting up situations that are not ideal in a lab in order to understand a what-if situation. In the medical field, nurses practice their skills in bedside manner when training on their patients. As you can see in the picture, the mannequins look semi-realistic. The patients are designed
Created using Powtoon.